Hello, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about men's mental health. Um, Something I don't really like to dwell on too much, don't like to think about too much. A lot of us don't. A lot of us want to just sort of push on and not really, just put it to the side and just keep going. And that is very acceptable. I mean, we as men don't really have many choices, many chances to kind of be careless. We have to be on it 24/7, and that's the right thing to do. But sometimes we have to think a step back and just relax, think about how we're going to do things, why we're doing things. Is it beneficial to us in the short term, in the long term? How's it going to impact the people we care about, the people around us? How's it going to impact our life going forward? I haven't got a script or anything for this. I just wanted to kind of let the thoughts out, especially since the video yesterday. I kind of wanted to just talk about a couple things, and again, excuse me for not constantly looking into the camera, but I think uh, it's okay. I think it doesn't really matter. I think the message is more important, right? And excuse my sort of disheveled look. I've been quite tired. I've not had a lot of sleep tonight. Been busy with many things. But it just got me thinking, the month of June, especially, used to be Men's Mental Health Month, and now it's kind of occupied by something else. But I think as men, we should really, really talk about this a lot more amongst each other, and really, really support each other through the things that we're going through. And in recent times, with the emergence of certain figures, uh, the obvious ones. I Things have been better amongst men in terms of the sort of self determination. Again, English not my first language, so excuse me for speaking a little bit slower. But I think it's more important for me to choose the right words than stumbling over my words constantly. So I think it's a it's a it's a good thing that in the last couple of years it was difficult for a while, but in the last couple of years, especially looking back at the 90s and the 2000s, things weren't very good. And men, a whole generation of men growing up with single mothers, drug abuse, rampant, uh, record numbers of suicides, terrible stuff. Constant, just this constant cascade of terrible things. And uh, now, hopefully, over time, slowly. It's still very rough. We're nowhere near where we need to be, but we're getting there. We're constantly moving forward, and I see it in daily life when the people I talk to. I do see that the people want to improve themselves, and you constantly have to keep improving yourself if you want to get anywhere. Whether you want to have a family, whether you want to be rich, famous, all this kind of silly stuff. But if you want to be successful, truly successful in whatever you want to do, whether it's a certain job, career, creatively successful, um, or you want to, raise a family, you want to travel the world, whatever you want to do, you have to be consistent, and you have to be able to take risks. You have to be adventurous. You can't sit still. Uh, in terms of course, to sit still is also something you have to learn to. For example, my fault, my not my fault. What am I trying to say? My kind of big flaw is that I often, some people would say procrastination, but it's not procrastination. It is because I don't procrastinate. I spend so much time walking around, thinking, but kind of like a lion in a cage, walking back and forth through the room, outside, just walking around the block constantly. Not doing anything, but just thinking. And this is no good because this will lead you into, it can lead you into some dark places. Because you start thinking, oh, the worst and the worst and the worst thoughts, and that's not going to help you. It's not going to be beneficial to your mental health. It's going to deteriorate your physical health because you're going to have less sleep. But no, I don't procrastinate. I simply overthink. Sometimes I wish I could procrastinate, but oftentimes, whenever I fail to do something, instead of doing something else that would be considered a waste of time, but at least enjoyable, I still don't do it because I genuinely feel bad for wasting any time, which is good. I should be feeling bad. I should be far further than I am at my age. But things have not progressed as I wanted them to progress because of my own actions. I've had plenty of time, plenty of options, but it is something that, it comes with time. It comes with time and it comes with effort, determination, and just putting everything you have behind it and making it work, making it happen, not giving up ever. And that's what I also wanted to talk about in relation to the small video yesterday. Don't give up. Just don't ever give up in anything that you're doing. And if there's something you're doing that you're not happy about, do something else. But just keep going, keep doing things. Just always keep doing things. If you're studying and you don't like it, you don't know why you're doing it, pick something different. But don't just stop. Just keep going. Just pick something different, or start a career in something else, or become creative, or let the creativity that you already have shine. Use it. Don't give up ever. Don't get lost in drugs and alcohol and all the other things. And I mean, video games is another great example of this. A world in which you can escape, but there is no reason to escape. The world we live in, unlike what it looks like sometimes, or quite often nowadays, it isn't actually as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. It's quite nice. It's very nice, in fact. But it's only nice to the people that get the most out of it. Like with anything. You can have a delicious steak, but if it's not cooked properly, it won't taste good. You can have a fantastic car, but if you can't drive it properly, you can't get the most out of it. And so you have with all of these things is the same. Life is fantastic, but you need to capitalize on it. You need to make sure that the things that you want to do, you do in the time that you are given. Because not everyone is given a lot of time. Some people are given no time. You just, the time that you do have, use it. And it's interesting me telling you guys this, because it's also kind of a message to myself. I have to remind myself of that every day when I'm frustrated about not being where I want to be, not being as successful as I want to be. I always think, well, there's so many things I could have done in the past to change that, but it's quite a hot day. It's quite cold this morning, but the sun has been shining, been pretty radiant, and I usually have the blinds shut, but I thought today, probably just leave them open for a little bit. Just had the window open, but there's some construction going on outside, and it's a bit loud for recording a video. But anyway, I want you to get the most out of the time you're given. Don't give up. Keep going. Keep fighting. Sometimes the days will look very, 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 very dark. Very dark. Sometimes there's the days that you just want it all to be over. But those days are going to be there. Whether you have money or not, whether you have your family is healthy and happy or not, whether your career is going the right way or not, it doesn't matter. It's going to be difficult regardless for every single person. And a lot of people say, well, if you have a lot of money, it's easier. And it's truly, it is easier. But that doesn't mean it's without any faults or problems. It doesn't matter how much money you have, you can't stop death, you can't stop time. And things like this are going to happen and they're going to keep happening. So those are things we have to accept. Doesn't matter how successful we are. But of course, if you are successful, you can cope with those things a lot easier if you have the rest of your life sorted out. And it's nice kind of spewing my inner monologue because also it gets boring talking to myself every single day. I'm kind of milling over the ideas and the thoughts I have about all these different things. It's hard because it gets in the way of progress. And I have nowhere to put it because I mean I can only talk to my mom so long or my dad so long. Don't want to bother them with all this stuff, you know. Came here many years ago to Australia many years ago when I was 17 when I was here for the first time, but 18 I moved here and it's been difficult ever since. Not because of it. Australia is great here, but you know, trying to hopefully soon within the next year or two move back home. Not at Netherlands, but somewhere else in Europe, somewhere. Have a family, you know, with Erica and see how it goes. I'm very happy about it. Very positive. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It really is. It really is gonna be interesting. It's unbelievable how fast time goes. You know, we've been together for almost 8 years now. Yeah, 2 months and then it's been 8 years. It's wild. Been with her for a third of my life now, and I mean I couldn't wish for anyone else, but it's just crazy that time goes so fast. I remember it was like yesterday when I first came to Australia. When I first lived on my own here. Uh, Crazy. The time during, you know, the last couple of years, everyone knows what happened. Not being able to go home for 3 years, June 2019 to June 2022, was yeah, was difficult, to say the least. The hardest, no, it was the hardest time of my life. 2020 and 2021 especially. Those 2 years where there was no salvation in sight and it was just being locked up here. It was terrible. Not knowing when this I was gonna see my siblings or my mother or my father, my grandparents. It was terrible. And it really, really taught me a lot about myself, about my wife, about my family, about what I wanted to do with my life. And even then, a lot of things I didn't do correctly. I mean, now I don't do a lot of things correctly. Again, it's something that we just have to work through. And I'm as passionate as ever, but I try to think things, think things through. That's a hard thing to say. Yeah. Thank you guys. You know, I really appreciate all the support and all the love. But think about yourself, you know. Go on holiday. But, you know, be a bit creative. Don't just go to Bali, you know. No problem with Bali. Just there's so many nice places in the world. I was in Bulgaria last year. Incredible, you know. My best place I've ever been. It's just there's a lot of places in the world that don't get enough attention, you know. They're really there's so many beautiful places that don't get enough attention. Anyway, it's rambling on about other things now, but point is, take care of yourself. Read, write, it will help you. Walk, walk. I would say walk a lot. I mean, I live in the inner city and I walk every day, and especially on the weekends, I try to walk as much as I can from here to the all the way to the other side of the city and back along the river, whatnot. It doesn't matter. Just walk and you know choose instead of going to McDonald's, cook something fresh instead of drinking another energy drink or a coffee or a beer or a spirit. Drink water instead of driving everywhere. Walk instead. You know all this kind of stuff. It'll make you feel better. You know, don't sit there and scroll on your phone for hours for no reason. Don't sit there and look at Netflix for hours for no reason. Just the moments that you reward yourself should be determined by your progression. It's something I always have to tell myself too. Being young at the time, not anymore, but at the time years ago, it was hard because I was like, well, I live on my own now. This was when I was 18. I live on my own now. I can just play video games every day. And I did a lot. But you quickly come to realize there's no satisfaction in that, or very little. Some people can put it aside, they don't have any other ambitions and they just enjoy it. You know, props to them, but I can't do that. I quickly came to realize that it was something that I did not enjoy very much at all because I'm not progressing. I'm not progressing. It's only interesting if you're in a place where you can relax, truly, and you don't have to worry about what's coming next. Where's your next meal coming from? How are you going to pay the bills? You know, all this sort of stuff I don't want to think about when I'm trying to relax. And so I try to put my focus somewhere else. And sadly, I uh, I often had to learn the hard way, but it's coming. I'm doing better, and you know, again, as long as we, uh, you know, if we can't run, we walk. If we can't walk, we crawl. We always keep moving forward. I think that is really important to remember. Just keep moving forward. Don't stop. Move. Always. Improve yourself. You know, I also like watching TV sometimes. Well, not TV, YouTube, for example. I have some people that I like watching. But instead of just sitting on the couch and watching, I'm cooking, you know, making Erica's lunches. Or, for example, I start lifting weights or watching TV. These kinds of things. Don't do a singular activity. Do a couple of things at once. Get as much done as you can now before you're older and you can't anymore. And then when you're older and you're set up and you have kids and you don't have to worry about making money so much, you're doing well. Then you can really start to enjoy the times where you just want to focus on one thing. I'm saying you can't do that now. I'm just saying, and especially if you're very good at something, focus on it. But if you want to, you know, if you really want to do well, I think combining a couple of things is very good. I think combining a couple of things that you can do at once, you know, If you can do multiple things at once that will benefit you, it's always a positive. Um, I hope this is consistent at all. But yeah, I think that we can all benefit from some self-reflection and from a cold shower once in a while, metaphorically and physically. I think just once in a while, just kind of being humbled and kind of standing still and being like, well, okay, how did I get into this position? How am I going to get out of it? How am I going to improve? And how am I going to become a better man or woman if you're watching, of course. But in terms of talking about men, I do not understand the female experience, obviously. Uh, do not pretend to know. I know my wife very well, thankfully, and we are very open about these kinds of things to each other. We should be. We've been together for so long, and we have a very good relationship in terms of this, in terms of everything, really, but in terms of this specifically. We feel comfortable enough to talk to each other about these kinds of things, and I think that's a very important thing. If you can have a partner where you can feel comfortable enough to tell them, look, this is the issue I'm facing. How are we going to fix it? Are you able to help me? How are we going to do it? How are we going to get this to a point where it benefits us and it'll make us more successful as individuals and as a couple? I think that's a very good thing to ask yourself. But yes, I think that is plenty for today's thoughts. I think I've rambled enough for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon again. Keep going and don't give up. Remember that. Never give up. Ever.